Sometimes you'll want to climb on double ropes, especially on routes such as this one behind me called a Limonette, which climbs up one crack, does a long horizontal traverse to the right, and then finishes up a separate crack. If I climbed on just a single rope doing that route, then the rope would go through two quite sharp angles, which would create a lot of rope drag and also make it quite likely that the rope would pull my protection out as I'm climbing. So actually not a very safe way to protect the route necessarily. However, if I climb with double ropes, I can protect the first part of the route on the left-hand side with the rope that is attached to the left-hand side of my harness. And then when I start traversing across, I can switch over to the rope attached to the right-hand side of my harness. And so from the bottom of the route to the top of the route, both ropes will go in fairly straight lines. So this will make it much easier for me to protect the climb as I'm going up. You may also use double ropes when climbing on routes and just wanting to place gear on both the left hand and right hand side of your body. It's often necessary to use long extenders. On this extender here, I've even got a carabiner with a little pulley wheel at one end for the rope to go through, which would reduce the rope drag even further. It wouldn't be a very good idea to carry the extender on my harness at full length. I'd actually want to shorten it. A simple way to do that is to pass one of the carabiners through the other, pull it through and clip the sling like that. And then when I'm climbing and I place it in the piece of equipment, I can simply do this to lengthen it again. Before we set off, we'll do a buddy check as usual. So I'm going to check both my knots. I'm going to check the ropes are going through the belay plate properly, and Rob can do the same. And then also I'm going to check that actually the ropes are not twisted over each other as I climb out, and that would be the case. As I turn around, the ropes won't be twisted. Oops. Great, so you can get a good bit of gear in here. Got a nice cam in there. And this is the beginning of the traverse. So what I'm going to do is get that long sling that I made up. Unclip that, clip it back in. Okay, Rob, I'm going to clip purple. So I've clipped purple on that long sling. Now what you want to think about on traverses is the second as much as yourself when leading a route, because if I don't really put lots of gear on this traverse, then the second will be just as exposed when they're seconding it. Now that may always be the case, you won't know until you start climbing. So the thing to think about when doing a route that has a traverse is to ensure that actually both members of the climbing party are equally skilled. As I'm going across, so there are some cracks here, but it doesn't look like you can get any equipment in them. So I'll just carry on to the end of the traverse. Just stand there. I can get some protection in here. Good wire here. Okay, Rob, I'm going to clip this one on yellow. So what I've done here, I've got one rope at the beginning of the traverse and this rope at the end of the traverse. I've got no protection in the middle, and you do need to remember when you're climbing traverses, protecting your second, because when Rob unclips that, if he slipped off early on, he'd take a big swing. I would have actually put equipment along the traverse, but I couldn't actually see anywhere to put it. So if you like, the moral of the story when doing traverses is often that both members of the climbing party need to be sort of equally skilled. Can actually get a good camming device up here. I'll put that in straight away. So I'm well protected. Because remember, my last bit of equipment's right over there, so should I be unlucky enough to slip and that wire came out, I go a long way. So what you can see with the ropes now is a yellow rope. It's going very straight from the ground. Purple rope, obviously going through that bend, but where it isn't that sharp bend, I've got that very long extender. I'm glad I put that rolling carabiner at that end. I can carry on up this bit and almost at the top of the climb. So now at the top of the climb, and actually what I can do to protect Rob, I can set the belay up in the middle of the traverse, and so that will protect Rob as he's traversing across. In that way, the rope will be above him all the time on that most exposed part of the climb.